Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Crestron webinar. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the Mastering Efficiency, What's New in the Crestron HOME Configurator webinar. My name is Carl Walkovich, and I'm here with a great group of presenters as well as attendees. But before I let the presenters get started, I just want to go over a few webinar protocols for those who might be new to Crestron webinars. First off, all attendees are muted and in listen-only mode. Presenters will be speaking and answering questions verbally and via text throughout the webinar. The best way to ask a question is via text by using the question section on the Zoom webinar panel. You can type your question, one of the presenters will answer. This webinar is being recorded for future use and distribution, and a follow-up email will be sent a few days after the webinar with the recording, questions and answers in Excel, as well as some additional reference materials. So once again, please feel free to ask questions while you listen to this very informative webinar. And lastly, when we do officially end the webinar, please remember to take the prompted survey to help us assist you in the future, as well as perfect these webinars. So that's all I have as far as webinar protocols. I'll now pass this over to our presenters, starting with John. John, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Carl. Listen, I want to start this webinar by just saying thank you. Thank you to all of our dealers, for your continued support. Our dealers are so very important to us. In fact, it's the only way anybody can purchase Crestron gear is through our direct dealer channel. For 51 years now, we have sold our products into and through the direct dealer channel. And no matter who you are, that's the way you buy Crestron. If you're the U.S. government, you have to go find yourself a dealer. And you're all we got, and we depend on you, and we're here to support you. So I want to say a heartfelt thank you for your support. I know the last few years have been a roller coaster for a lot of people, and Crestron is here, and we are strong, and we're fully supporting you. What you're going to see today is actually the evidence of that. This piece of software does really nothing to enhance what end users see. It does nothing to enhance any benefit for Crestron whatsoever. It's solely purposed to focus on making the dealer experience better, more enjoyable, quicker, and most importantly, more profitable. Now, I kind of lied when I said it does nothing to enhance Crestron's benefit, but because like I said, you are our only way of selling Crestron. And when we make your experience more enjoyable, when we make your experience more efficient, when we make you faster to get in and out of projects and get these things deployed, there's a little benefit in there for us, which means, you're probably going to choose Crestron, and you're probably going to have extra time to do more jobs. So, they say there's no such thing as a win-win situation. I don't believe in that. I think if we empower our dealers to be more successful and they're more profitable and put more food on their table, we win with that as well, because those dealers will in turn choose Crestron and be able to do more of it. So we win together, and Crestron understands that. It's our intention to maintain that and continue that going forward. This piece of software you're going to see is a labor of love of my good friend Scott Wooster and his team, and a lot of it was built based on the feedback we got from dealers on what they need to make the Crestron home deployment experience even better. What you're going to see is just the tip of the iceberg. We continue to make this software better and better and better, and this is going to be the future of how Crestron Home gets deployed. It takes baby steps to get it there, because one of the core fundamental tenets of Crestron Home is it always has to be stable. So yeah, sometimes we don't go as fast as we want to, because we want that stability in every single release. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Scott, and he's going to show you some pretty cool stuff.
Hey, thanks, John. First of all, I just want to say I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to our dealer community. I've been with Crestron almost 3 years now, and I'm just super impressed with all the dealers that I've spoken to. I try to periodically reach out to different dealers to get feedback, ask them how they like our product, what can we do to do it better. And I've always been treated extremely well by everybody I've talked to. So I really appreciate that, and I'm hoping to do more of that as we move on. And we look to add more features to both our web portal and our configurator, and even some of our on-device software. So today, what I want to do is I want to cover some of the features and functionality you're going to find on the My Crestron portal, namely in two areas, the devices area and also in the configurator area. Some of the features I'll show you have been around for a while. Others are brand new or relatively new. And to really take advantage of these new features, I want to preface that it's a really great idea if your processors are on the latest and greatest software. So we want to be on at least a 3.21 version. So let's dive right in. So a quick overview of the My Crestron portal for folks who are new or maybe haven't really accessed it. It's very quick and easily accessed through CrestronHome.io. Taking some feedback from dealers who have used this in the past, it was a little bit difficult to maneuver to get to the portal. So we've added a direct link. So we'll be showing that in a little bit. On this portal, we can do things like quickly and easily build configurations before you go on site, before you have any hardware, so that you're ready to go. You can deploy the code for the configuration on the processor in your office, or when you get on site and then you've got a baseline to start building your complete configuration. On this portal, you can also do things like manage your user accounts and your devices. Things like being able to see your connected devices, which are pictured here below, and see the status of your processors. You can also do things like download log files. For example, if you're working on a configuration and need to see some things that are going on, it's very quick and easy to download the log files right from this portal, and do things like manage users and IP addresses as well. You can also see the health of the connected devices that are connected to your processor. You can see things like whether they're online or offline, or see what types of warnings they have, or even find out if there's updates available. And you can do this right in the comfort of your own office. So you don't have to go on site. You don't have to log into the processor using the My Crestron setup app. You can do it right from the comfort of your own office. All right, we've also added something to the What's New content. So now we have a new pop-up that pops up the first time we launch a new version. So every time we have a new version, you'll know immediately when you log on. You'll see this pop up. You'll be able to click through it and close it. We've increased the content by adding video examples for all of our new What's News, and we've increased the size. So with that, why don't we dive in? So here I'm going to type in CrestronHome.io, which brings me right to my portal. And here we see the What's New content popped right up as we indicated. Here we can see some of the new things that we've added over this release, just released today. We've got digital I/O devices and modules. We've added some functionality to the AUX keypad for the Horizon keypads. And if we wanted to see a video on it, we could click on this video demo and watch how it works. Once we click close, we can go on and start maneuvering around the site. But if we wanted to see that What's New again, it's very easy to do up in the right-hand corner. We can just click on the What's New content and it pops right up. So moving into the Devices tab, which we touched upon, here as a dealer, I can see all the devices that I manage, right? And these devices that we see here are my test devices in my home. They're not deployed anywhere else. They're just for my testing purposes. If I click on Scott's CP4R right here, we can see information that pops right up. And right now it's looking to see if I have any blocked users or IP addresses. We can also do things like grab log files. As we indicated, we have a log file icon over in the right. Clicking on that, we get a pop-up. We can grab our logs for our current configuration or our self-command log. So if we're working and we want to see our errors or activity or commissioning, we can click on logs, hit the proceed button. It grabs the diagnostic files and we can view them very easily.
Now, Scott, why would we want to look at diagnostic log files? What's the benefit of having that easily accessible?
So maybe if for some reason you've noticed that there's some error condition within the processor, or the homeowner is complaining that something isn't working quite right within their configuration, this is an easy way to grab them. And if need be, you can share them with Crestron's tech support system so they can help diagnose a problem. So other things we can see here, all right, we've just seen that we have some locked users. Now, since we have some locked users here, we can choose whether we want to allow those or whether we want to unlock them. And here I can quickly unlock that user. And now that warning goes away. I have a blocked IP address as well. I can choose whether I want to allow that, unblock it.
And Scott, can you tell the group, for those that don't know, why you would get a blocked IP address?
So for example, you might get a blocked IP address if someone is trying to access the system, or a blocked user, somebody's trying to access the system that the system's not familiar with. It might spit it out and say, this is an invalid IP address, or maybe you've changed the IP address scheme within your home. So you might have to manually go in and adjust that.
So I had this happen to me. I forgot my password and I thought I remembered it, and I typed it in a few times and it locked me out. And this used to be a very difficult process to be able to get back in. You have to try to change the IP address of your computer that you're using, or go to a different device and try to use it. And there was a whole thing to do to get connected to the processor again, to get in first before you can unlock the IP address. Now you can do it right from here and you can get right back in. So it's just another way that you can dig yourself out of a little hole if you create one, like I did for myself.
Right. Okay, great. So moving over to the configurator tab. Once I open this up, I can see all the configurations that I've created. And in this environment, I can create configurations that are unique to each individual location, or maybe I have apartments, or I have a set of condos where the configurations are, for the most part, the same throughout those units. I can create one master configuration. And when I'm done with it, I can deploy the code from that configuration to one, several, or all of those multiple dwelling units that I've got that I manage. So let me show you how quick and easy it is to build and add a new configuration. So here I'll click on the Add Configuration button. And I'm presented with the first page, which is all about my configuration. I can give it a custom name. The most important thing that I have to do here is pick a processor. And here I can select from any of the 4 residential processors that are supported in Crestron Home. So I will pick the CP4R. And once I've chosen it, I'm given a warning that from then on within the configuration, this configuration is set for a CP4R, and that cannot be changed. But what happens if I build this configuration and at the end I realize that I'm not going to use a CP4R, I'm going to use a DIN AP4R. I can still take that deploy code, put it onto the processor, and within the setup app, I can take care of any exceptions for any functionality that's a little bit different. Now, let me choose this. Here I can choose customer name, Scott. I can fill in all this information, and that information will help me when I'm going to organize my systems. So we've organized this so we would work through the configuration going left to right. The next thing I might want to do is add my rooms. All right, so diving back in, we can very quickly and easily add some rooms. And if you have standard rooms, you'll find that as you start typing in first letter, for example, we have basement, bedroom, and bathroom. We can choose those and very quickly and easily add those rooms to the configuration. So what I'll do is I'll go on and add just some common rooms that we might have in our configuration. Have that one.
And as Scott's doing this, I want to point out that, again, for those of you that are familiar in simple Windows and have naming conventions that are designed to be used in code and not necessarily be exposed to the outside world, it's different here. These names of these rooms are going to express themselves on the user interface. So as you name things like lighting loads and rooms and things like that, you want to be cognizant of the fact that a lot of these names, not all of them, but a lot of these names are going to translate through to the user experience. So you're naming them friendly names, not, bedroom 1-2.
Correct.
It would be Jimmy's bedroom or whatever the case may be.
In the same tab, we can organize these rooms into groups. For example, maybe we want to organize them by floor. So we can set up the first floor, and then we can then pick the rooms that we want on that first floor, like living room, kitchen, perhaps the dining room, and add them, and they appear into a group for organizational purposes. Then as we move over one tab to the right, this is the loads tab. So this is where we would define any of the lighting loads that we put into the rooms. So first we would select a room. For example, we might want to put a light in the bathroom. We would select the type of light that it is. I'm choosing down light, but here we see some pre-populated types of lights that we might want to add. And I've chosen the LED type. And in the bathroom, we might want a couple of those. So we'll add them in. And we can move quickly to one of the other rooms, like the bedroom, and add a down light here as well. Perhaps a reading light or something of that nature. We see we've added some lights. Then moving one over to the right again, here's the equipment tab. This is where we're going to add any type of equipment other than lighting loads. So we can add any of our devices that touch the users, any of our keypads or dimmers, any types of control devices like gateways. We can even add shades in here. So what we've done also is we've streamlined this interface so that now there's no need for an additional shading tab. Now, if I want to add shading, I can do it right here very quickly and easily using a smart search capability that we've introduced. And we can add shades. And when we add shades, we can very easily add them to the various rooms. For example, maybe I want to add 2 to the kids' room, a few to the kitchen, maybe a whole bunch to the living room, and maybe these even wind up on different walls, which we'll take a look at in a little bit. And it also tells me that I need to have a power supply and a hub, which I don't have in my configuration. So I'll add that. It tells me by default, it's going to put it in the equipment room. But if you really wanted to put it someplace else, you could. I click add. And then in the equipment room, I now have my power supply and hub that I wanted. And if we expand all the rooms, we can now see all the rooms that the shades are in. Now, these shades in the living room, they might actually be on 2 different walls. And you might want to put them into groups so you can operate them the same way at the same time. So I can also add a shade group in my living room. I might call one West. pull a drop-down menu and choose a couple of those shades and add them to west. And maybe my other wall is south. So I'll choose south, and I'll choose the remaining two and put them in that group. Now, the reason why this is so important is then when I have an action that I want to take on my shades, control them from a particular button on a keypad, I can make that action happen on the south shade group rather than have to individually program each shade. Oh, and then if for some reason I've forgotten to add a room or a room group, rather than going back to the rooms tab, we've also added the capability to add a room very quickly here. So maybe I have a patio or a garage that I want to add that I forgot about, and I can add it right here. And since I added those lighting loads over in the loads tab, I now need a way to control them. So I can come up and choose a device that I might need to control them with. So here I'm going to choose a dimmer device. And since I don't already have an enclosure for that dimmer control device to go into, I'm given a choice of different types of enclosures that I can add it to. And there it is, it's added.
Scott, can you, there's one detail that I really, really want to show the audience. Number one, having these features pull in where it's like, oh, you're adding this, you're going to need, adding X, you're going to need Y. That's super, super handy just as we're kind of shaping these systems to make sure that all of our ducks are in a row. But can you show us, what's that little I mean to the right of the picture of the product right there?
Very good point, Sergio. Okay, so next to every device, you'll find a little information icon. So if I click on that information icon, it will launch the web page for that device. So for example, we added this 2DIM UE8, and it tells me that it's an 8-channel universal dimmer module.
And then from this page, you have not only the web page, you have the specifications, you have the documentation. So it's a very easy way for you to navigate and be like, oh, you're building the system. Oh, I need this product. I didn't even think about this. What is this product? Maybe it's something new. Maybe it's something you've new to lighting and you haven't simply used yet. You have all that information, super convenient and nice, easy flow. You don't want to be throwing Google searches of what is this from Crestron, right? Let's make it easy for you guys. I know you guys were working on this one for a good bit, and it's just so awesome to actually see it.
Right, and since we've added this device and we have the loads that we need to assign, we can just go over to the assignment tab and we'll see the loads that I've added. And I can very easily and quickly assign them to the dimmer control module. In a similar way, we can add keypads and dimmers. For example, we have a new line of Horizon 2 keypads and dimmers that we've introduced. We might want to place some dimmers in different rooms. So here I've selected a model, and I can actually choose right from here what color that I want. Either I want white, black, or almond. And this is significant because when I produce about bill of materials reports, I can have that information available so that when I go to place the order, I already know what color devices that I want to order. So let's add a few to different rooms. So I'll add one to the bathroom, maybe one to the bedroom, dining room, and the living room. And it's telling me that these devices are wireless devices and I don't have a wireless gateway and I need to add one. So I have a choice of gateways that I can add that support this device, and I can choose what room I want to add it in and click add. And now if I expand, I can see that these devices have been added to the rooms. And if I move over to the interface tab and I select this device, I can now design this device. So what I can do here is I can choose, for example, the button layout. Just slide that right over and it puts it in place. And then if I want to set up the engravings, I move over to the text tab and I can type in engraving for the first, then the second, third, etc. And now these engravings can be used later on when you go to order engravings. Now, I mentioned the Horizon 2 keypads. What's really great about them is when I order engravings, I have an option. I can either order the engravings by themselves, or right out of the chute, I can order the device and the engravings together.
And the reason why that's important, Scott, from a sales standpoint of view, is when you order the engravings with the device, two things happen. One, it's more economically friendly because we're actually shipping the device with the engraved set of buttons, and it saves us from having to produce another set of blank buttons that inevitably get discarded. The other thing it does is it makes those engravings free for you, the dealer, and it's easier because they're already in place. So when you go and install that device, you don't have to come back later and remove the device or remove all plates to add engravings after the fact.
And so moving back into the equipment tab, we've also just recently added climate as a subsystem. So within the equipment tab, you can now do things like add thermostats. So just by typing in thermostat, beginning of the word, we can see a list of the thermostats that are supported. And we might want to choose, for example, this horizon thermostat. And again, we have our choices of colors if we have a theme throughout the house. And we might want to say add one to the dining room. That's a perfect place. That's where mine happens to be. So we add that in. But okay, so we've added this, but we also might want to pick up the temperature, for example, in the living room so that we average those two temperatures together for our thermostat purposes. So we also support remote sensors for temperature. So we start typing in temperature and we see the list of the devices that we can add. I'll choose this remote sensor right here and I will put it in the living room and add it. And it shows up for me in the living room. And now if I go back to the dining room where my thermostat is, I can assign that remote temperature sensor to that thermostat. This way it picks up the temperature from there, averages it in. I can also set my schedule for the thermostat. Here we see by default, we have 4 different schedules. We can change them as we want, change the temperatures. And even if we want to add an additional one, we can add an additional one as well. And then once you're done with your configuration and this information gets downloaded onto the processor, these are all set up ready to go. I can also do things like create a climate scene. So here I can click on my little temperature button here, and I see that I have a thermostat that I can do scenes on, and I can choose the type of scene that I want to add. Maybe I want a cool mode. I can set that scene. And if I move over to actions, I can add a quick action in the whole house. Choose scenes. And here you'll see I have a new scene that I've added for climate, and I can take action on that as well. So before I added in some horizon dimmers. But now what I want to do is I want to be able to control the same type of lighting load, or actually the same lighting load that's controlled by that horizon dimmer in some different locations. So I need something auxiliary. So what we've done is we've added the capability to add horizon auxiliary keypads in and have them controlled or help control the load that's associated with a particular horizon keypad. So here what we'll do is we'll add a few of them. We can see we have auxiliary keypads, and we have this little indicator here, and it's telling me that this aux keypad doesn't have a parent. So now what I do is I have to go back, pick one of the dimmers that I want to have it control, choose my remote button, and here you can see my auxiliary keypads that are available, and I can very quickly and easily assign them so they can control a load that's associated with that dimmer. So while I'm in here taking a look at this dimmer, there's something else new and cool we've added. So for those of you folks who are familiar with the setup app, you're probably familiar with the device settings or device properties. And what we've done in Configurator is we've added a lot of that functionality to the configurator. So traditionally, we've only had the about section, but now we've added things like the output section, show our output, the backlight section, and the backlight color. So maybe you have a customer and they just don't really like the custom white. They want something different, say like a red color. So you choose wet red. But now you have a host of these dimmers that are the same type that you have to change. So what you can do very easily is go to that dimmer that we changed. I think we changed this one to red. Copy the settings. And then go to any other device of the same type. We'll choose this one here. And paste the settings. And now if we look at that device, its backlight color is red also, just like the other one. And we can do this for any of the same like devices across the board, and it will affect anything in this settings area. So we've talked a little bit about controlling lighting loads and scenes or shades and things using keypads. But what if you want to control based on someone entering or leaving the room? You need something else. So what we've done also is we've added in the occupancy sensors and motion sensors into the system as well. So you can choose an occupancy sensor, put it in a room where maybe you want the lights to go on and off automatically, and it's set there. So if we wanted to create some sort of scene or a quick action using that, we could do that right from here just by setting up a scene in the bathroom or the bedroom or the kids' room. That would show us how to use that occupancy sensor to turn on the light, turn off the light, etc. Now, the other thing that we've just recently added is the ability to control different types of third-party end devices. So if you were to type in, for example, third, you get a whole host of different types of sensors that you can add into the system, like door sensors and window sensors, gates, screens, etc. Right? So you might have a customer that wants to put a fireplace in their bedroom. So you can choose that, and you can add that fireplace to the bedroom. Or maybe they want to add a screen for their bedroom as well. So how do you control that? So you need a way to control it. So we've added I/O devices like modules and things of that nature that can be used to control that device. So here we'll pick an I/O control module. We'll put that in our equipment room. And now we'll go back to our bedroom where we added those end user devices. If we come into the setup, we choose our operation mode. And here you can choose whether it's momentary relay, momentary digital input, maybe 2 digital inputs. For now, we'll just choose a momentary relay. And then we're able to select from available ports. So here we see some ports on the control processor we can choose, or some ports on the device that I just added that we can choose. So on the fireplace, we're going to control it from this module. And then we'll go to the screen. And we have similar settings. We'll select the momentary device here. And we're going to control it from the processor itself. And then if we want to see a report on how that all works, let's move over to the reports tab. So in this reports tab, first and foremost, we have a full suite of reports that are available for the configuration. And here, when you first open it up, you'll see the bill of materials report that we talked about earlier. So in here, we can see all the devices that I've added to the configuration. We can see that we've got a dimmer that has engraving that's available. You can see we've added these aux keypads. We can see the color on them. We can see that we've added bone with the -B. So that's important for when we're ordering products. And when we're ready, we can export an XLS that can be shared with the Crestron salespeople so you can place the order. We also have other types of reports available, like an engraving report. So here we can see our engravings that we created on a Horizon keypad. We can see gateway reports as well. This shows where we have our gateways, what they're connected to. You can see our lighting load schedule report because we've added different loads to different rooms. Here we see on the top that to this 2DIMM-U8, we've got 3 loads connected. And then we have a list of modules without loads. So we know, maybe we need to go back and do a little bit more work because we're not quite done. Then we can come down and choose things like a wiring report. If we had DMX fixtures, Crestron DMX fixtures, we could show that report. Or we can go to our I/O device wiring that we just showed how we added I/O devices to. And we can see an image of the processor. We can see that we added that relay to relay 1 on the processor in the bedroom for the screen. And then on our I/O module, down here, we can see that we've added the fireplace. And on this I/O module, we have nothing.
So this is huge for number one. You could track how many ports are being used. You know how much you have left remaining in the system for any additions that could possibly come up, or you know exactly where everything's being assigned. But also think of it from a field perspective. Your field techs know exactly where everything should be plugged in.
Correct. I mean, these are all great to give to your subcontractors if you have them, or your employees when you're going on site. Just hand them off and say, here, these are the reports that are important to you for what you're going to do. And you can quickly and easily make sure everything's connected correctly and working correctly. And we touched upon something real fast here when we first pulled up the lighting load schedule. There was a reference to DMX. So what we're talking about here are really the Crestron DMX lighting fixtures. And for any of the dealers who have ordered them, you might be familiar with something called the lighting fixture configuration tool, which is a way that you can go in and set up an order for these DMX fixtures and then place the order. So what we've introduced within the configurator is an import tab. And in this import tab, if I had an actual sales order for a lighting system that I've ordered with the DMX lighting fixtures, I could pick that system and I could import it. And then my loads would show up in my fixture library on the loads tab. So here we see I've got some DMX fixtures that I've already imported from one of the configurations, and they're set up ready to go for use within the configuration. So when your system is all ready to go and you think your configuration is ready and you want to download to a processor, the final step is to move over to the deploy tab. And what we've done in the deploy tab is we've created an environment where the system generates a deploy code, which you can then take that deploy code and use it through the Crestron Home Setup app and deploy this code to the processor so that when you get on site, all these things that you've added to the processor are set up and ready to use. We've also introduced a warning and notification area that I encourage everyone to click on when they built the system, which will give you notices and warnings. So here we see a few that tell me, I might want to go back and do a little bit more work before I deploy the code. So we've also added some advanced filtering. So in this configuration that I've created, I might have a host of different types of devices. I might have accessories, enclosures, gateways, etc. But maybe I don't want to view all of them. So I click off on the O, and maybe I just want to see the Crestron devices, the interface devices. Or maybe I want to see those, and also maybe the sensors, because those are sort of end user facing. Or maybe other types of devices as well. Maybe I want to see my IO devices. And then that filters that out. So we only see the device types that we want to add or see.
Perfect for you're making sure that you have all the equipment where you need it to, or maybe you double added something's
Right.
not looking right. But on huge projects that are, at these large homes, it's going to be very easy to get overwhelmed with the amount of equipment in them. So why not make it easier, right?
Correct. And then similarly, in the Actions tab, we're implementing similar functionality where if we only want to look at, for example, the IO devices, we can do that. Or maybe we just want to see our quick actions. We can filter on those as well.